Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to our webinar, which is called Nature-Based Solutions for Climate Resilient Cities, Digital Tools for Decision Makers. My name is Andreas Hoy. I am a researcher at the Stockholm Environment Institute in Tallinn, and I'll be guiding you through today's webinar. The session today is hosted by the Horizon Europe Adaptation Agora project, and it explores how digital tools can support decision-making for climate-resilient cities, especially through the use of nature-based solutions. Before we begin, I want to convey a quick housekeeping note. The session is recorded, and by joining, you consent to the recording. The video of the event will be shared after the event. All participants are muted to ensure a smooth presentation. And if you have questions, and I hope you do, then please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to post questions to the speakers. Also, please upvote the questions you find most interesting, because this helps us prioritizing the most relevant ones for the discussion. If you want, you can also share comments or thoughts in the chat, but only the Q&A posts will be considered for the Q&A session after each presentation and the panel discussion at the end. This webinar is a part of the Climate Adaptation Platform's Community of Practice webinar series, initiated by SAY Oxford, and our SAY Oxford colleague Rosie Witten is today with us as well. I also want to acknowledge Sukaina Bahawi from SAY Oxford. And the aim of the webinar series is to create an alliance of online knowledge brokers and to serve regions in Europe and beyond. The webinar series wants to strengthen collective efforts to share actionable knowledge for adaptation, to connect local level experience with policymaking, and to create connections between the platforms to enhance access to knowledge for citizens and decision makers. We also want to break down silos between platforms and platform users to support that platforms exchange knowledge, best practices, and learn from each other, as well as their users. And this is what we do today, because we dive into digital tools to help scaling up nature-based solutions. First, a definition. What do we mean by nature-based solutions? These are solutions or actions that protect, sustainably manage, and restore ecosystems to address challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, and human well-being. In urban settings, this also means green and blue infrastructure, such as green roofs, wetlands, and urban forests. These solutions help cities adapt to risks like heat, flooding, and air pollution, while at the same time they also boost biodiversity, social cohesion, and quality of life. During our webinar, you will discover platforms showcasing global and regional best practices for municipalities, including 2 transferable examples from France. You will see how digital tools can help cities prioritize, steer, and scale nature-based solutions. And you will also learn about key challenges in adopting nature-based solutions and how to turn them into opportunities. I hope you will get inspired to adapt these solutions to your city's unique context. In our webinar, we will spotlight 3 innovative platforms and tools. The first is the Urban Governance Atlas. It's an interactive database of 250 plus policy instruments, which are supporting nature-based solutions and ecosystem restoration in Europe, South America, and beyond. The platform helps policymakers, planners, and researchers explore different governance tools for greener cities. The presenter will be Natalia Burgos-Cuevas from the Ecologic Institute in Berlin. The next tool is AdaptaVille, or Adaptation City in English. It's a French platform with practical nature-based solutions for urban climate adaptation, including case studies, technical resources, and guides for local governments. The presenter is Anna Blouet from the Paris Climate Agency. And then we have the Fraiche Ville, or Cool My City in English platform. And this is a French decision support tool that helps cities plan urban cooling with practical guidance, technical sheets, and case studies on green, blue, gray, and soft solutions to reduce heat stress in public spaces and critical infrastructure. The presenter is Tanguy Deferrier. As mentioned, this webinar is part of the Horizon Europe Adaptation Agora project. And I would now like to briefly introduce the project and how it supports local decision-making in tackling urban climate adaptation by easing access to data, platforms, tools, services, and networks to support work, especially also on local level. Adaptation Agora is an abbreviation for a gathering place to co-design and co-create adaptation. And the project aims to accelerate climate resilience across Europe by scaling up best practices, innovative approaches, and effective governance mechanisms. It brings together citizens, civil society, policymakers, experts, and entrepreneurs to co-create tailored, problem-oriented adaptation solutions by recognizing that no one-size-fits-all approach exists. Our project consortium includes partners with long-standing experience in climate adaptation, participatory methods, and social innovation. A key part of the project is the Adaptation Agora Community Hub, which is a space to connect, share, and co-develop local adaptation knowledge and experiences. And this is important for the session. It's including a digital academy that improves access to climate data, risk tools, and adaptation platforms, and also an extensive inventory of digital resources for local adaptation planning. The platforms and tools we present today were selected from this inventory as strong examples of how digital tools can help cities implement nature-based solutions. But now it's your turn. Please, everyone in the audience, grab your smartphone or open slido.com in your browser and enter the code shown on the screen. And then please let us know what types of nature-based solutions are you working with or are you most interested in implementing? And in this question, you can select multiple options. So we have a selection of 6 different options: urban green spaces and forests, which is including parks, corridors, and street trees, green roofs and walls, blue infrastructure, which is including wetlands, ponds, rivers, and canals, water smart solutions, including permeable surfaces and rain gardens, urban farming and community gardens, and also the option to say others, or we are not working on this yet. And I see the results are dropping in. Very interesting. Right now, we have most votes for urban green spaces and forests, but actually water smart solutions and blue infrastructure is about the same share. Also, urban farming and community gardens is strong. Green roofs and walls is a bit behind. But I see that there's a lot of experience in the audience, which is good because then I hope you find the tools we present today very interesting for your work. Maybe I wait a few more seconds, but yeah, it seems that most used or most interest is in urban green spaces, followed by blue infrastructure and water smart solutions, urban farming and community gardens, and green roofs and walls. Okay, and there's one more Slido. And this is: which climate and environmental challenges are you primarily addressing with nature-based solutions? And here for this question, you can select only one option. So results are again dropping in. We have 18 votes 22, so it's strongly increasing. First ranking at the moment is urban heat and heat waves. Flooding and heavy rain comes next. Then we have biodiversity loss, drought, and other. Air pollution ranking 6th at the moment. So I'll wait a bit more because I see that there's still participants ranking. But I think the two winners are urban heat and flooding, followed by biodiversity loss. Okay, but thank you very much for voting. And now we come to the first platform, Atlas. And the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Now I'm not seeing anyone. I'm Natalia Burgos Cuevas. I work at Ecologic Institute Berlin, and I'm happy to be here today with you introducing a very interesting tool that we produce within the Interlace project that was Horizon funded and focusing on restoring urban ecosystem and promoting nature-based solutions collaboration between Latin American and European cities. And I will be then introducing the work of more than at least 60 people and 2 years work. So I hope you get inspired and then consult the atlas. Um, Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it takes a moment until the slides are changed. So to start with, why did we think a platform like this focusing on nature-based solutions and how to mainstream those in policy instruments is important? So where we came from back then, it was we recognize there is the ambition to mainstream nature-based solutions into urban planning and other policies because we recognize their importance and their potential to tackle environmental, climate, and other also social challenges. And what we observed is that there was a need to unpack which were these policy frameworks or policy instruments that were enablers of the uptake of nature-based solutions. And we saw that there was a gap and that there was a lack of proven local policy instrument examples, at least um, proposed in a systematic way, and then, of course, in a way that is easy to access to different cities and other governments around the world. So I also would like to mention that's not the focus of my presentation, but there is another platform that is called the Urban Nature Atlas that focuses on the projects that we also were part of, but this one we focus on the policy instrument. So about the Urban Governance Atlas, as Andreas just said, it's a collection of more than 200 policy instruments supporting nature-based solutions and ecosystem restoration. While creating it, we aim to foster kind of an impact on ecologically coherent and inclusive planning. We wanted to inspire global action through sharing best practice instruments. And also we really made an effort to include lessons learned and different aspects of the governance of the instruments. And also we work hard in representing, as you can see in the map, a diversity of context. Of course, our focus was in Europe and Latin and Central America. But we have just some exceptions there because some colleagues from other regions contacted us and really wanted to be there, so we agreed on so. But we focused on EU and Latin America and the Caribbean. So because we are talking now about the tool itself, oh, sorry. Um, I wanted just to show a bit more. Sorry, this is not that dynamic or a video, but of course you can then go and visit the Urban Governance Atlas yourself. We try and make it as much user-friendly as possible. Then therefore, because this is a big topic, we were thinking, okay, which are search criteria that can support the users to kind of navigate this huge amount of input that is there. So when you open the atlas, you can go and search by keyword if you already have something in mind, also by instrument type. I will dive into which types of instruments and subtypes of instruments we decide to include. Also, we have the instrument, you can filter by instrument type, and then you will have all different types of instruments that fall into that category shown for you in the main page. You can also choose by the country, city, or region that you are interested in. You can focus on the initiating body. Then I will tell you a bit more what this means, and also about the targeted urban areas and the urban challenges addressed. And also we try and make it come along with an interactive map view where you also, if you already know the country you want to know more about, you can just click on it and just check also, of course, which solutions, or sorry, not, well, nature-based solutions, policy instruments are there. And what is really cool, took a lot of work, but we think is worth it, is that the information is available both in English and Spanish. So I also wanted to give you a bit of an overview of the instrument pages and what is available on them. So you do have kind of the objectives and context section, what are the aims and challenges, what is the link to nature-based solution, but an ecosystem restoration, because when we are analyzing policy instruments, this sometimes is a bit difficult to grasp. So we wanted from the beginning on for you to have very clear this link. Also, we included that which was the relevance to specific urban or peri-urban areas. Then our focus was on governance and implementation. So who initiated the instrument and how was the processes of the instrument design, what were targeted actors or stakeholders, and what was the implementation approach. We also did our best, but was not always easy, on understanding financing conditions, what were funding sources and budget, and some additional financing details when we already had cases of policy instruments that were implemented. Then also we focus on the, as I said, on the results and evaluation. So what were outcomes and impacts? Were monitoring and evaluation mechanisms in place? Where they were, we give you an idea on how they worked, etc. What did they measure, and then all the insights in terms of good practice characteristics, success factors, but also lessons learned, and also very importantly, how this policy instrument is integrated into broader policy frameworks that are related to climate, environment, etc. And of course, all our references. So this says in a nutshell, but I know there is a lot of information in this infographic, but from here, for the moment, I wanted to just call your attention into, so we have the 200 policy instruments that are 4 types of instruments. I will go into the instruments in detail in the next slide. By no means we did this ourselves at Ecologic Institute, but we co-created this with more than 48 organizations in Europe and Latin America. And we are featuring 41 countries in the Urban Governance Atlas. A bit, I'm not going to read all this slide for you, but just wanted to say we made a real effort to try and understand which type of policy instruments are the ones that can support nature-based solutions uptake. We were not looking out there for a nature-based solutions only strategy, but different types of policy instruments at different scale from a different source or origin, etc., that could support this process. So the main 4 categories are the legislative, regulatory, and strategic instruments. They include subtypes such as urban planning mechanisms, standards, sectorial instruments, or dedicated strategies or plans. I just put some examples so you can read them also in the right. The second type is the knowledge, communication, and innovation instruments. And then they are communication and awareness raising instruments, and also knowledge and innovation. So what is going on around communities of practice, living labs, etc. That is basically, and I think this remark is important here, we consider a policy instrument as a kind of one that is usually promoted by a local authority or regional authority. So it would have to mean that these workshops, living labs, instruments were promoted by the municipalities, with some exceptions that I will talk about a bit further in my presentation. The third one, a very important one, because we are also talking about the challenges of uptake. One of the challenges of uptake in MBS is the lack of financial and of resources. So we have one type of instrument that is the economic and fiscal instruments, and this includes disincentives, payments, subsidizes, incentives, but also financing mechanisms and market-based instruments, which include in sub in examples such as public-private partnerships. And then we have a last category that is called the agreement-based, we call agreement-based or cooperative instruments that include direct engagement of citizens and multi-stakeholder collaboration and joint regional planning actions. So this is when you go into this 250 sample, you will see the instruments and the best practices classified under this. This basically, we build it under the interlace project, so it's our own classification of policy instruments. Then I wanted to show some examples of policy instruments. Maybe I'm running late in terms of time, but you have all sorts of things from participatory budget strategies to public community agreements between, I really like this one of a public community agreement to manage an urban forest. We already see that the public here has been working on forests, so this one would be a very interesting in terms of the governance aspects of how they make it work, they made it work in Cali, Colombia, and also some knowledge and communication examples such as these educational materials of Strasbourg. So there are 250 on this, and I just wanted to bring some images for you to get curious and then explore the atlas. And I don't have time here to dig in a bit what we started doing in terms of the analysis of these 250 practices that we brought together here, but we did get some initial results. Of course, these results are not comprehensive at all. This is a sample of 250 policy instruments, but they give us like an idea of the trends in terms of which policy instruments we should focus on when we have the goal of mainstreaming nature-based solutions into planning and public policy making. So what we had is that majority of the policy instruments are legislative, regulatory, and strategic documents, so usually binding laws and regulations, and also strategies, and usually this work, for example, is embedded under climate adaptation strategies, etc. The second one was the agreement-based or cooperative one. Here we had a lot of interesting examples in terms of partnerships between community and the local governments, or between the private sector and the local governments. And the third one was the economic and fiscal instruments. And there you can find different financing mechanisms and market-based instruments, which kind of are a bit more innovative and newer, but also can be an interesting resource to check. And last but not least, the knowledge, communication, and innovations one that trying to influence behavior by disseminating information. I also wanted to say at this point that it's not that we advocate that there is one type of policy instrument that would do all the job, but we advocate for a policy mix. But it's very important to understand which role does each type of policy instrument can play when mainstreaming MBS into policy action. And another remark I also wanted to make is, as I said, usually, I mean, formally, the policy instruments are something initiated and under the responsibility of local, regional, or national governments, but recognizing this shift between kind of policy frameworks to governance, rigid policy frameworks to governance, we wanted to include initiatives that are bottom up. So it started by a strong civil society organization action, and then that they turned into policy instruments because they were formalized by the authorities. So these are very interesting because they are bottom up, they are very wanted by the communities, and they already have the trust of the communities. And then a bit on the challenges addressed. So yeah, so we did I told you you have the possibility to search by challenges address, and then yeah, we found that 95% of the instruments address at least 3 challenges. So this is a very good thing to make the case for MBS multifunctionality. The more kind of challenge that address challenges, the challenge addressed the most, sorry, was green space management. And to end, some final reflections from my side of what did I learn on this, and why I think it's important. So the Urban Governance Atlas is a tool that I invite you to visit. So the amount of information that we managed to gather help us make a lot of analysis in terms of what does it mean to understand what is mainstreaming policy MBS into policy instruments. We've found things such as most instruments are top-down, but there are room for bottom-up approaches. There is a high potential to combine tools, especially communication and innovation and cooperative instruments. Then also we provided a framework to analyze policy instruments, which is also already something that hopefully gives clarity to local authorities in terms of from where they can approach this MBS topic that is also cross-sectoral. And we provide inspiring examples of how to move towards more inclusive nature-based solutions and justice outcomes. And also we highlight the diversity of instruments and their application across contexts, so there is not one solution that is fit for all. And then very importantly, it supports cross-regional learning. So sometimes we work a lot in Europe, we focus on Europe, but the invitation is also that we learn from other regions how they are doing it. And in terms of the tool development, in case some of you are planning also to develop your own tools, I wanted just to say it's not only a technical challenge, but also a leadership task. Do not underestimate the time you need to build trust, offer guidance, and make time to be available for others. Design matters, bringing creative minds. It's often underestimated by research like me, where you focus on the content and then you don't have time to make something really user-friendly. And then, yeah, so I'm glad this was a lot of work. We really hope people keeps using it for decision making. And then this why I'm also glad to be here today with you, and I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Natalia. It was a very interesting presentation. We have 2 questions, and I think we have time for quick questions. So one is about, did you do some analysis in a way of which instrument or which type of instrument works quicker than others to implement changes, and also in terms of kind of pricing, what are the cheapest or most expensive, and which are the biggest impact? So do you have some idea about this?
Um, To be completely honest, after we finished the atlas, we closed the Interlace project and we haven't done specific kind of analysis. We published one academic article, but focusing on inclusivity, not on kind of economic efficiency. But there we have further analysis in terms of the results we got. But you do have a lot of examples. I would suggest to the person that asked the question to try and focus and take a bit of a look at the economic and fiscal instruments. There you can find a lot of interesting things that are being done in terms of, and that have given results as business districts, so different sorts of associations between the public and the private. But in terms of quick results, I think it really changes depending on the political will and kind of a lot of different governance conditions. But what you can find there is what were the governance setups or arrangements that facilitated or sometimes made it difficult to reach the impacts that the different policies establish as a goal. So that's what I can say. At the moment, we do think these 250 policy instruments have a lot of potential to be analyzed, and this is why we think it's important that we are here and that people start using it in different ways.
Exactly, and this is also the next question, because there's a question of a user. How can I contribute to the Atlas by submitting new and interesting policy or policy instruments? how would it work?
Okay, so yeah, here I don't have. So basically, because of the Horizon funding and Nature now Interlace project is over. So while Interlace in the 5 years Interlace project was running, it was possible to keep contributing. Now, unfortunately, it is a
Mm.
bit difficult to continue with this. What happened is that OPLA, that is a platform that is working with a lot of the NBS information. They are now managing the platform, so we could inquire whereas that's possible, but now we don't have an open call for newer policy instruments because we don't have the team to manage it anymore. But what's happening, and is very interesting, is that now in the Latin American context, the Alexander von Humboldt Institute there with OPLA are going to create this platform and sharing knowledge platform also focused on Latin America. So I would say OPLA is a definitely nice resource that is still open and is kind of gathering a lot of the information in nature-based solutions. But this specific urban governance atlas at the moment, unless there is new funding for this, will not receive more instruments.
Okay, that's understandable. This is how funding and projects work. But thank you very much. We need to move on. And first of all, I end the presentation. And then we come now to the next tool. It's a French tool, AdaptaVille, or Adapt Your City. And we have here Anna Blouet from the Paris Agency of Climate. And I will give you also the possibility to have slide control. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So hello, my name is Anna Blouet, and I'm here to tell you about the AdaptaVille project. Okay. Um, I work as a climate change adaptation project manager at the Agence Parisienne du Climat, the local energy and climate agency for the city of Paris. We're a non-profit organization created in 2010 to support the city of Paris in implementing its climate action plan. And today our team has nearly 60 members. We work primarily on supporting energy renovation in Parisian housing, but also more broadly on the ecological transition across the Greater Paris region. So it's in this context that we launched the AdaptaVille initiative in 2021, so 4 years ago, with the support from the city of Paris, the Greater Paris Metropolis, and the Agents of Ecological Transition, the ADEME. We started from a clear observation. Cities in the Île-de-France region are still poorly adapted to the already visible and increasing impacts of climate change. So here, this includes more frequent and intense heat waves. Also, extreme rainfall leading to surface flooding in heavily paved areas, droughts, loss of biodiversity, and river floods. So you can see this in the screen in French. So our goal is to equip local stakeholders with the tools they need to accelerate urban adaptation by sharing replicable solutions that are tailored to dense urban environments in our region. So over the past 4 years, we've identified practical solutions to inspire local actors. To do this, we launched 3 calls for applications and set up a selection committee with our partners to highlight initiatives that are proven, replicable, and ready for implementation in our territory. We do then interviews and research to gather practical information and feedbacks on the solutions that are selected. So you can see the committee with the partners. And then these solutions are published on our online platforms through detailed fact sheets. We now have over 80 of them. And the platform, so AdaptaVille, also features an interactive map of planning projects in the region, contacts of service providers, information on financial support to implement the solutions, and a calendar of local events on climate adaptation. All this is shared via our newsletter, and which now reaches 4,200 subscribers in our region. And we've also published several practical guides, for example, on shading solutions, on pavement materials, on flood management, and on heat waves that you can find on our website. So our goal is to give practical and operational information. So our fact sheets provide operational information such as case studies, cost, and contact. And they cover a wide range of solutions, nature-based, but also technical and behavioral. And next one. Yes, we also provide information on local financial aid to support the projects of the local actors through fact sheets dedicated to this financial aid, and through webinars with the key local funders. And to give you a recent example of a fact sheet that we did on a nature-based solution, it's depaving and greening urban cemeteries with the example of the Montreuil cemetery. Because a greening cemetery is an interesting solution because there are spaces conducive to biodiversity. There are also quiet areas with little to no lighting at nights. And greening brings shade and coolness for cemetery visitors. In France, chemical pesticides have been banned in cemeteries since 2022. And so in this solution fact sheets, our case study is the Montreuil Cemetery, which was gradually greened over the 10 past years by a team of 5 city workers. So they did gradual removal of concrete slabs between graves to allow grass to grow. They did tree planting, greening of the perimeter wall, and adapted the maintenance technique with mowing and pruning. We also organized a visit in April 2024 with 30 professionals to exchange directly with the teams. Because indeed, AdaptaVille is more than just a platform, it's also a local engagement program. We organize around 15 events per year to bring local stakeholders together to share feedbacks and experience and strengthen the adaptation ecosystem. In 2024, these events brought together 700 participants from diverse backgrounds, local governments, consultancies, architects, landscape designers, urban planners, and through various formats, site visits, workshops, conferences, webinars, which are always designed as spaces for dialogue and exchange. These are a few examples of the events we organized last year. So the visit of the Green Cemetery in Montreuil, a visit of a school construction site in Rosny-sous-Bois, our workshop, so a workshop on climate adapted greening, a workshop on pavement materials, and also a webinar on pavement materials, and our webinar on local financial support for municipalities on nature-based adaptation solutions. And our big annual event is Les Rencontres Annuelles, which are now a flagship moment for adaptation stakeholders. We organize thematic roundtables, a forum with 300, and we had 350 participants in 2004. And our fifth edition is planned for November 2025. Also, AdaptaVille has allowed us to develop strong expertise on climate adaptation, but it has also highlighted the need to go further to help local authorities fully take on this challenge and overcome remaining barriers. This is why we now offer, with the support of the Greater Paris Metropolis, a free tailored one-on-one program on climate adaptation, designed exclusively for local governments. We supported 4 cities in 2024, and we propose various actions such as general training on adaptation, awareness sessions on specific topics, organization of workshops, and of urban walk, always on adaptation. So if you want to find all our resources, you can go on our platform, AdaptaVille, and subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed. Thank you very much for this invitation, and I'm ready if there are questions.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was very interesting, and and especially it's impressive how much you go out into the field in a way, and to speak with stakeholders and coordinate with the actors. And I think this is very important. Also in a way to collect feedback on how the solutions work. And before I start with the chat, I want to ask a question myself. Do you have any idea which of the nature-based solutions you have in your platform has the greatest impact in an area like with a densely urban character, like Paris, for example? Because you mentioned the graveyards. This is something which is like obviously really important. Is there something else, or like what is your feeling? Which nature-based solutions is the most important in dense areas?
Yes, we have a lot of nature-based solutions on the platform, and particularly because they bring other benefits than just for the adaptation. They can bring like happiness for the population. They are good for biodiversity. They can bring fresh air. So there are various solutions that can be implemented in dense area. It's such a you have a bit to think about it before implementing them, because you don't have a lot of space to implement them, and it's not like in the rural area. But for example, solutions that are on buildings, like greening the roof or the wall. Also solutions with the tree that you can plant in the streets, and they can take the rain and use the rain to grow, such as these examples.
And I think the question we have in the question and answers section is related to this in a way, because it's written there. Can you please share if street tree pits are included in the AdaptaVille initiative?
Can I share what? Sorry.
Yeah, if in your AdaptaVille a platform, you have also street tree pits. So let's say what is, or let me reformulate it in a way like how much information do you have about street trees or greening streets by having trees on the street?
Yes. It's funny because it's a solution that we want to work on this year because we don't have a lot of things on this solution. On trees, we have arbre de pluie, so it's raining tree that take the rain to grow. But we want to work on other informations about how to protect the tree in the cities. With different tools and how to react to droughts and how to bring other sources of water to the trees. So next year you can find it.
Okay. There's one more question on it, and maybe later you can just check the Q&A
Yes.
because it's related to this. And then we have now more questions dropping in. How can we make gray infrastructure carbon neutral too and aim for totally green products or product line all throughout? So this is more like a general adaptation mitigation perspective, which you have also. I mean, you said that the Paris Climate Agency is mainly also dealing with those topics.
Mm. Yes, to be carbon neutral, it's difficult, but for me, the gray infrastructures are here when you can't provide green solutions, such as shading solutions when you can't plant tree, for example. But with a circular economy, with a reflection about which materials you employ. I think you can like mm, be more carbon neutral, but it's way more difficult than with green solutions.
Yeah, of course. I think we can go for one or two more questions. There's what is the main challenge in like bringing through knowledge at this point? So the question is related to how to raise awareness. How do you connect with your stakeholders? And maybe it's also interesting, like how do you reach new stakeholders? Because they're always like very engaged and very active stakeholders, but how to go beyond this circle of in a way already existing contacts.
Yes, so yes, it's a constant reflection to reach new stakeholders, but we have a good number of people who are participating to our events. It's now we don't have to do a lot of communication in each events because people are reading our newsletter and are following our events, so it's quite easy now. But we frequently participate in external events of our partner, for example, to reach other stakeholders. And we are on the LinkedIn, for example. And we also yes we also relate on our partners, and I think it's very important that to know and to share with the other actors of adaptation, and like to share our event if we have to share a new resources that we want uh, to to share to new stakeholders. And also I think we publish a lot of resources, a lot of sheets, a lot of guides. But if no one read them, it's not. It's useless. So we share them by emailing on LinkedIn, and we also do events to talk about our practical information that it's is on our website. So here how we do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Anna,
Thank you.
for your presentation and the Q&A session. There are some more questions in the Q&A, and maybe you can just type
Okay.
an answer there. But we will move on now with the next
Yes.
tool, which is Plus Fraiche Ville, or to my
Okay,
city.
great. Thank you, Andreas. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to present you today this public platform, which is called Plus Fraiche ma ville. In English, it could say make our city cooler. So it's a government-backed startup that aims to provide decision-making support to municipalities in choosing sustainable and long-term solutions to make let's say to address the overheating crisis. So this platform gathers a bit like AdaptaVille, some use cases. It broadcasts some solutions, some climate audit methodologies. It helps municipalities to enhance knowledge on the topic and to take action. So it's really an operational tool that address to small and big cities, but particularly to small cities that don't really have the resources to address the overheating crisis. So during my presentation, I will focus directly on a demonstration of the tool, which is maybe the most efficient way of showing you what we do. So we have this, so this is the website you can all have access to. It's automatically traduced by Google. So there are some mistakes. It's better than French, but you'll find some incoherence. So this is the place where you can upload a project. So I'm just showing you a test project in Bordeaux that I introduced. We are going to work on a place, let's say, in front of the mayor. So we put our address. It's important because we'll have financing advices linked to the address. We put what are our projection of delivery dates, what is our maturity status. Are we on a questioning status or more choosing some solution or on construction status? So we're filling this first part, and then the first module, which is I haven't mentioned, but we are sponsored by the ADEME, so this public agency on the ecological transition, same partner that AdaptaVille, that really foster this combined solution approach and starting with an audit. So this is really what we try to stimulate with our municipalities to try and to start with an audit. There are different type of audit depending on the budget you have and the objective. We really have an audit that is addressed to municipalities that don't really have a budget. So it gives first indicators on a particular project. So it gives at the end some coefficients on permeability, biodiversity, urban refreshment. So if we if I give you an example, so we take a particular project. We put, for instance, how many trees between 20 and 50 years old, the nature of the grounds. So I've put, we have 30 meters of paving stones, 500 meters of asphalt, 15 meters of shade structures. So, and it gives you some first indicators that are, let's say, first level. The idea is not to go into details, but to give you first guidance to choose afterwards the solution that best fits. And it helps you to give you some language elements to discuss with the habitants or the stakeholders with some standards, let's say, indicators. So this is, let's say, the first approach, easy and first level. And the second one is from the ADEME, so the bibliothèque of the ADEME, which gives all the type of methodology to address climate audit. So first of all, you can want to have an audit on thermal comfort, so really on a specific place in town, or you want to have a view on the collectivity, I mean, with a wider perimeter. So let's say you want to have this global view. You can assess overheating with sensor. And so here we give you the method, some example of city that experience this method. So you have Toulouse, you have Libourne, Chambéry. And so when you click here, you have the details of what they have managed, Chambéry, and what are the relevant results of this method. What did they choose? It's commonly a combination of method. So I won't go into the details, but this part you can find it on the website. So they explain what they have used, the main results, some key points. So this is an example, and let's say so I'm interested in taking this example. I want also to pick another one, which is linked with thermal comfort. We were talking just before with Anna how to involve stakeholders. There is one here which is that can be done with urban and climate walk with different stakeholders. It allows all the stakeholders to have the same lecture of the overheating effects and to be with the same sensibilization. So this is kind of efficient. It doesn't cost a lot. It's easy to set up. So we have example and we have the method that we give details. So let's say I'm interested to add this method to the project. It's important because we'll have financials advice afterwards. So now I want to choose cooling solution. So we are on a place. This is the example that we are doing today. We can find different type of solution: green, blue, gray. So gray, it's more linked to the I mean like sorry, I had the French words, well, places. Blue is linked to the water, how you manage to stock and to irrigate other places, and green with vegetalization. So let's say we are interested in this method, this solution. We have the details here. We also have some examples of cities that use this method to see what went well, what went not the best way. So let's say we are interested in that one. We want also to put fountains on our place. We also want to put shading solution. Let's say this one. So we'll choose laterwards the details. Okay, now the next step is how much can it cost? Because the idea, as I said, is to provide decision-making supports. So I've chosen some solution thanks to a diagnostic I've made. How can it cost before going seeing some professional construction companies? It gives you a first level of what it can cost. So you can put here the details of the project. Let's say if you want a classic fountain on 15 meters. On the shade, let's say you want a green pergola on 25 meters. Let's say here you want organic furnitures on 100 meters. You want draining concrete on 50 meters. So yeah, it gives you some prices. We try to be exhaustive on all the possibilities to again help municipalities. So here is you have a wide range of costs depending on the different underlying material you can choose in each category. So let's say I am it's okay for me at this point. Now, one of the most important module is finding funding, as you can maybe anticipate. So here, depending on where I am, so it's a project in Bordeaux, south of France. We had some technical aid and financial aid because we identify some diagnostics, some audits, as well as some solutions. So we are directly linked to a government website that gather all the aids, and here we are just linking them. So it's an updated information that mainly gives who is the financial responsible, when is the deadline to address the documents, and so you have directly the details, and you can apply here. So we can see there are lots because we have chosen a lot of method. We have 3 methods plus an audit. So we have 59 and 33, so almost 100 types of financial aids. And so the last one, let's say I'm going to pick 1 or 2, sorry. This one, just for the example. And so the last one allows the project leader to see around him all the projects in France that are on Fraiche ma Ville. So it's like a community, let's say, a way to share, to get inspired. If you want to look for only project around schoolyards or parking lots on a status that is in progress or finished with budgets, you can look in France around you, since we are doing a Bordeaux example. Okay, who is doing a similar project in a climate that is basically maybe the same? And so you can have directly here someone who is working on development of a schoolyard. And so you have its contacts. So you can just try to get into contact, to exchange some documents or get insights. So here is basically our project platform. I hope it was clear. It's the first time I'm doing it in English, and the website isn't in good English. So sorry, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have.
Thank you very much, Tango. I find this really fascinating because it's a kind of complete a guidance through this process of kind of I see a problem and I have a solution, and I find this super helpful. And we have also some interesting questions here, and I want to read some of them. Where did you get the approximate cost of the solutions? I'm also interested in this.
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's a mix of ADEM database and our own database, where we have some municipalities that gives us insights on their investments, and so we adjust with let's say local insights and ADEM database.
Okay. And then there's a question about using the tool outside of France. I think, I mean, it's probably not a problem to access it from outside of France, but the question is a bit like, I mean, can users in other countries use it, maybe using this like you did in Google Translate or in another language, and then it's still working and they can get results which are relevant for them?
Yeah, it's interesting question. I'll hope it will be one day. Today it's a French initiative, but we were talking about this, Andreas, yesterday. At the end of the day, it's only the financial advices that are local, but all the solutions and the methods to address climate audit can basically be applied in Germany, in Spain, in other countries. So I don't know when it will maybe be in English, but it's an interesting point. We are currently working with European initiatives to maybe offer just standards that can be inspired by other countries.
I think it would be very valuable to have such a tool available also on a European level, because especially like having this step with the finances and having all this kind of guidance is so important for cities and municipalities who don't have this experience and who don't have the financial means to really invest into this. So I think this is very, very valuable. One more question. Or one comment and question, very comprehensive for urban solutions. What about making use of the peri-urban space scalability? So the question is about scalability. Are there any solutions that cover this type of space in your tool? So it's about, is this tool also useful for peri-urban space?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure to understand the question, but I would say today our tool is really based on a specific space. So we are trying to work on a schoolyard, on a major place, on a parking lot, a place in the city which is identified as a urban specific small perimeter. So I guess your question is, can we have like broader space solution based? Today, no, because we're really focused on the project.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So the question was also a bit more like this kind of spaces outside of the city core. So this area where you go from urban spaces into rural spaces,
Okay. Sorry.
and these spaces are in this way different from their character. So is the tool also including this area, or is it mainly focusing on the cores of the cities?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yes, indeed. It's applied to every type of climate and density, urban or rural space. We are currently advising 20 really small villages in France of between 500 to 20,000 inhabitants. And so, yes, the solution can be applied to any type of urban density
Okay.
perimeter.
Thank you very much, Tanguy.
Welcome.
And we are now through with the presentation of the tools and platforms, and I would like to go to the panel discussion. I hope that for the audience, the examples that have been presented have sparked some ideas and also questions. If they did, then please, again, the encouragement to use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen to post questions. I will start with some questions from my end to the panelists. But I would be happy to also include questions from the audience as well if they appear. So, but let's start a bit from a broader perspective. How do you think that digital tools are changing how cities plan and implement nature-based solutions? And maybe we can start with Natalia, because your tool is the kind of covers the most space in Europe and South America, and has also some other examples all over the world. So in your work with cities across Europe, how do you see that digital tools like yours are shaping urban adaptation and the ways how cities engage in this?
Thank you, Andreas. Well, that's a big question, but maybe I would say the main thing is like when you make information available that is also available in different languages, also that is tailored to serve different purposes and contexts, you really are helping decision makers that have to work usually with limited resources and limited time. So you really foster knowledge exchange and cross-regional learning or regional learning. And in the Interlace project, we had a lot of good examples on this. The Interlace city partners were very active, not only helping us creating this urban governance atlas, but also learning from these specific case studies or policy instruments. And also we were with them co-creating their own policy instruments to support mainstreaming MBS in their municipalities, based on what we learned from the atlas, right? So, and I think it's very important to say when we focus on finding information that is not always easy to grasp, such as governance, lessons learned, people can understand which were the conditions that were in place, because it's not enough to have the perfect policy instrument in paper, either as a law or as a strategy, but also it's very important to work on which conditions need to be there. So we do believe that gathering this amount of information was a bit of a crazy undertaking. It was more than 2 years of work, but we did so that it was really useful for people to dig in from different contexts and different regions. So I hope that keeps being useful.
Yeah. And Anna, from your experience in the Paris region, how would you say that having digital solutions like yours helped the city and the municipalities around to act more efficiently in terms of using nature-based solutions and engaging in climate adaptation?
As Natalia said, local authorities are short of resources and time. So finding online resources enable them to train easily and find arguments for implementing solutions on the political field. And with AdaptaVille, we've also noticed how important is it to have feedback before implementing a solution. And I think finding feedback from neighboring towns is a good way to implement solutions themselves.
Thank you. Tanguy, anything you would like to add from your perspective?
Yeah, I would just say the inspiration that comes from digital data and tools is really maybe the most efficient accelerator that we can notice on our municipalities when they can see around them other municipalities of the same size with the same climate that manage to do and to succeed in doing one project with encouraging results. It's maybe one of the most it leverage their project in a really efficient way. So I would just say on the sharing, as Anna said, also feedbacks and concrete case studies, which is really efficient to accelerate action on their side.
This is very true because exactly how do you learn from others? You learn from experience, and either you meet those people in your vicinity, or you have digital solutions where you also discover and come across the solutions. And of course, the digital way makes it much more easy and convenient to discover a lot of good examples. But let's also look at engagement. How do your tools support the collaboration among citizens, experts, and decision makers? And I would like to start with Anna, because your work, you have shown that you bring a lot of actors together. How does the platform itself help facilitate the discussions with them? You're muted, yeah.
Yes, indeed, it's really something we strive to implement. Firstly, with through events that bring together professionals from different backgrounds. But with the platform, I think it's because we provide contacts and from other municipalities, from companies that have solution that municipalities can implement, and I think it's a good way to like bring them together and to to implement more solutions.
Natalia, your urban governance atlas, do you use it to also support more inclusive and participatory decision making in the meetings you have using your tool?
Well, I wouldn't say we have such a thing as dedicated urban governance atlas meetings, but what we do have is that we keep advising cities in Latin America and in Europe in terms of a broad range of topics that fall under the NBS umbrella. And then there we really have a very easy to access information at hand when we are working on workshops with dedicated topics. For example, now I'm leading a project on urban heat island effect management in the city of Rome, and we have been studying a lot with the director of climate change of Rome, what is that other cities have been doing at this regard. And then basically now Rome is creating their own action plan. So this really facilitates our work to give examples fast to someone like a director of climate change. And it has proven to be a very interesting resource. So I would say, yeah, it's efficient. And then, of course, in terms of inclusivity, well, I mean, it depends. But in terms of inclusivity, maybe this is a bit slightly out of the question. But we did an analysis, and there is the paper at the end of my presentation where we analyze what lessons can we learn from these 250 policy instruments in terms of how to have more just outcomes in terms of MBS. So I invite you, the audience, and you, the panelists, to take a look if you want, because we also had some interesting discoveries on how to make MBS just and avoid difficulties with their implementation and gentrification, etc. We know of them. So just wanted to, that you touch upon inclusivity, I just wanted to share that because I think I didn't mention at the end of my presentation.
And maybe you can even link the report in the chat because then people can have a look at this.
Sure.
Tanguy, in your meetings with municipalities, and I think your tool, like as you have shown, is very useful to plan this kind of actions to support using more nature-based solutions. So how does your tool or your work foster this collaboration?
I would say the output of the tool is to give, let's say, a turnkey solution to a project leader in a municipality with key elements such as the key indicators, key messages that helps him to activate with his hierarchy projects. Let's say he comes with exhaustive project with how we can finance it, sorry. Where did it work? What are the key indicators? So we help, let's say, communication in between different stakeholders and particularly those that decides. So this is one point. The other one is we do some workshops as well with all type of stakeholders. So we help to sensibilize a different type of shareholders. And we put into perspective climate audits that gathers stakeholders. So yeah, with the method as well, we help this to put around the table all the stakeholders.
Okay. I want to ask one more question, and then I turn to the questions in the Q&A. But one thing which is really interesting and important is like, what advice would you give to cities which are just starting with thinking about nature-based solutions, and especially those who are smaller or have not so many resources? And maybe we can start with Tanguy, because your tool is like really providing a step-by-step guide to get this started. But how do you support specifically those municipalities which have little expertise and resources?
Yeah, thank you. If there's one message, I would say there are a lot of solutions that exist that are economic as well. Much more than we think, than I used to think in the first place. A lot of things exist that don't really cost. So this, I mean, this sometime issue, financial issue, which is one because the budget since 2 years is really getting control and reduced, but there are a lot of solutions, and what we put forward the most is the combination of solution because I mean there's not one that is miracle, but it's a combination that works in the end. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's true, and in a lot of cases, the solutions they have also co-benefits. So let's say if you calculate this in your cost calculation, then in the end, you may even win financially, and this is important to be considered. And then it's also good to see the see results like you showed in your tool that you have indeed kind of 2.5 degrees less on a public square, and this kind of showing these benefits in a visual way, I think is very good. Natalia, also from your experience in your project and generally, like, what do you think? What are the practical steps that make cities with low resources and low experience like really start?
Well, I would say um, I think it's very important that people, and it's also the responsibility of the researchers and et cetera, that we make these platforms, and this is why this webinar is very important, known to people. So people need to know that there are a lot of projects, European funded or with other funders, that are working in having a systematic overview of the many different angles that revolve around nature-based solution uptake at different levels, right? So I would say the Urban Nature Atlas, the Urban Governance Atlas, the ones that my colleagues here have presented are already an example of how we really can dig into case studies depending on the different needs every municipality has. And then, well, the OPLA platform that I already mentioned really gathers a lot of case studies and a lot of the knowledge that has been produced at least in the European funded project world. And also, as I mentioned, there is an upcoming tool in Spanish, and maybe, I'm not sure if Portuguese, no, but maybe that happens. And then that is Naturaleza Transformativa or Transformative Nature. And they are also working on that to also just help the people that don't necessarily speak English, that are based in other regions, to access these resources. So I think there are a lot of initiatives there to support the cities. And yeah, there are also city networks that are working on this that hopefully can be a good bridge in Interlace. We had city networks that joined us and that will also work very well as a bridge to kind of from the researcher community to the city authorities. So also, I'm sure the city networks they participate in have a lot of knowledge on where to start depending on the need they have. We had focus on smaller or intermediate municipalities. Depending in Latin America and Europe, what is small is differs. But we did work with the smaller cities in Europe, and then what we learned is there is a lot of willingness. The MBS topic is gaining a lot of relevance, and also it's just about being smart in terms of finding the databases that can help kicking off the discussion.
Okay. We're a bit running out of time, but I want to ask one question, and who wants to answer, please go for it. So the question is like, how do you find that the EU definitions of NBS is useful, or do you think it can create barriers for people to co-create relevant solutions, as it can become an exercise of ticking off high-level criteria? Is there anyone who would like to answer this question?
I could share a bit of an insight in terms of this. There is not just one simple solution on this. I do think, I mean, especially we learn in Interlace when working with Latin America. So with a context that is non-European and there is not we usually work closely with, that the definition of what a nature-based solution is that has been led by institutions such as IUCN is very important in the sense of giving us a clarity of what this umbrella concept entails. So that was very useful. But also, we do need to approach different contexts with an open mind, and we learned our lesson on this when deciding on the EU Latin American cooperation agenda with the European Commission. That is, there are a lot of things that are nature-based solutions, but not everybody labels that as NBS as such, right? So there are many things that are more labeled or worked with under the ecosystem-based adaptation strategies, etc., that are also NBS. So we do need to come in with the concept, but also with open mind in terms of how people is also calling their work for years, no? So yeah, and also there are other types of knowledge, indigenous knowledge, etc., that don't necessarily identify themselves as a nature-based solution, but that also could be part of this kind of overall goal of improving society and nature's balance. So yeah, that's what I would say. And we had a lot of discussions in Brussels about this, but definitely it's useful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we could easily go into more detail here and have more discussion. But I want to end the panel discussion now here at this point. I thank you very much, Natalia, Anna, and Tanguy for being here. I want to show two last slides, and I will share them. Here's we from the Agora project would like to stay in contact with you. And if you're interested in exploring more platforms on climate data, risk, and adaptation, and also nature-based solutions, please visit the websites on the slides. They will be also posted to the chat, and we will send you an email. So it's definitely not lost if you're not quick enough to scan them now. Also, if you manage a platform which is not featured in our repository yet, we would very much like to hear from you. And please also explore our digital academy to have access to more than 100 different climate data risk and adaptation tools, including those presented here across Europe and also for different countries in Europe. We will also post learning modules on climate risk models, policies, and more later this year in the same academy. We have a digital academy against climate disinformation to identify and better understand misleading information. And please also join the Agora Community Hub to connect with peers and to share insights and discover more practical solutions for climate resilience and adaptation. As said, we will share the slides and links in a follow-up email. And with this, I want to thank you very much for today's session. I hope for everyone, it didn't just give you new insights, but also practical inspiration for your work. I found it a very exciting session, very interesting information which was shared, good discussion, and I thank you all for your engagement and see you next time. Thank you very much.